The way this system restricts income and assets is what creates dependency, not social safety net. More social safety nets means more security for the citizens, just in case things happen or go wrong. The restrictions in place only affect those at the bottom, not those at the top. Disabled Americans should be able to pursue whatever kind of work they can do within their disability, without having to worry about losing their benefits and their health care because of it. But we as a society shouldn't be worried about those on the bottom needing a hand up to get help to get out of the situations that they are in, or to help them live. We should be worried about how the system purposely lets people who are more than wealthy enough to take care of themselves still be allowed to take our taxpayer dollars for themselves. I'm pointing out how our current system will target people who dare make $1,500 a month, but will ignore someone making $15,000 a month in the same system, just because the source of income is different. In order to have a fair or just society, we need these social safety nets to be more inclusive. Otherwise, there's no point. Either way, we still need the net when someone falls.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
The mental and emotional toll removed from the wealthy and the upper classes cannot be measured. I have two examples I want to share. One was I was riding the bus here in New York City, and we stopped to pick up a gentleman who used one of those like motorized scooter type devices in order to get around. The bus driver commented that he was using his older scooter because the newer scooter's battery died. And then the gentleman shared that it was going to be $300 to fix his new scooter, and he didn't have that $300. To which the bus driver replied, "Why don't you start a GoFundMe? People would love to give you money in order to fund to get this new scooter." To which he replied, "My friends don't have the money either. No one's going to be able to pay to get me these batteries for my new scooter." The scooter that he has is really inconvenient, can barely get on the public transportation in New York, and he doesn't have the $300 to get the batteries to use this life-saving technology, and he doesn't even think that his friends would have enough excess money to donate $5, $10, $20 each to get to the $300 in order to replace his scooter. Another example that I have is there's a member of my family who, through just various life circumstances and decisions of their own, found themselves in a very difficult financial situation, and they were selling their plasma. When you sell plasma, depending on what area you're in, and I guess how many platelets they get, you only get $50 to $100. That means that they were in such dire straits in order to pay rent, get food, get gas for the car, that was the only option that they had available to them. These are the kinds of things that millions and millions of Americans across the country are considering every day. Do I have the $300 in order to get the scooter, in order to get around and live my day-to-day life? Or do I need to sell my plasma in order to have enough money to put food on the table and to have heat in my home? That is the state of healthcare in the United States. The wealthy are never going to have to choose between life-giving care and shelter or food. In fact, the only choices that they're going to be having to make are between convenience and convenience.
I hate how jealous I get when I see my friends, mutuals, people I'm following, strangers on the internet, post photos when they go home for holidays and they have these nice houses. Families that are financially secure, maybe even emotionally stable. Kind of people in families where someone got laid off, or if they wanted to take a leap and start their own business, they could stay there. Their parents would welcome them back, would have a bedroom and a nice kitchen. Their parents probably have fresh groceries stocked in the fridge. I hate how jealous I am because I will never have that. I got laid off after moving cross country for a job. I signed a 16-month lease that was an apartment that was right next to the office. Hindsight's 2020. I was so mentally not okay after that job ended that I took a couple months off. I burned through a significant portion of my savings. Thank God that I had built myself that safety net. I feel like I've spent so much of my life building myself my safety net. Sometimes I feel like I am running as fast as I can just to keep pace with everyone else. I don't say this for pity. I don't hate these people. I hate how after all these years, I'm still jealous. I've been posting about my journey of being an entrepreneur. I know so many of you follow me are first gens who also grew up low income. I don't think it would be fair to not show you this side of it too.
Tell me we live in a dystopian nightmare without telling me we live in a dystopian nightmare.
So my partner recently broke her ankle, and because of that, she is not able to work at the grocery store that she was working at before. She doesn't qualify for temporary disability because with a broken ankle, she's not going to be out for 6 months. She's just going to be out for several weeks. She doesn't have a ton of accrued PTO, so it's not like she can just count on that to pay her bills for the next few weeks. She's not able to drive because she broke her ankle that would be her driving foot, so she can't get to and from doctor's appointments unless she takes public transit, which obviously costs money. She can't get to and from the grocery store because she can't walk. Yet somehow she has to find the money to pay rent at the end of the month, to buy groceries and feed herself, to pay her medical bills, to pay for public transit to get to and from the doctor, to find someone to walk the dog for her because she can't walk the dog. Now she has me, so we're gonna be okay, but imagine if she didn't. What would someone like that do?
This. For real. A coworker of mine who still processes claims recently had a claim where there were no wages showing for the person. And he called the person and let him know. And the guy was like, what do you mean? Like, I live in California. I've like always lived in California. He's like, well, you don't have any wages. Can you check your pay stubs, or where is it that you work or something? And the man had his own business. He was paying himself as an employee. He moved his business to Nevada so he wouldn't have to pay state taxes on like what he earned. And he was so upset. He's like, I live in California. I've always lived in California. I should have access to these benefits. You're not paying for them, so you don't have access to them. And it's exactly this. He intentionally moved out of Nevada so he wouldn't have to pay California taxes, which includes the CASD deduction. And so he doesn't have state disability benefits in California because he's not paying that tax. And he's all upset that he can't access our safety net, our social safety net here. Like, people need to think through beyond the right now and think into the future and the potentials.
Something that people don't understand about jobs in the United States compared to anywhere else in the world is that so much of our well-being is actually attached to our jobs. So when you lose your job, you're not just losing your income, you're losing like your health insurance, you're losing your retirement. And yes, you can get insurance via Cobra in the marketplace, at least right now, but those things are extremely expensive. Like, they could literally eat up the vast majority of your unemployment paychecks. And sure, you could like set up additional retirement plans, but not everyone has the discretionary income to do that, especially if they're not working. And so losing all that time paying into Social Security could extend the age at which you're able to retire. And even if you are working, your employer controls whether you can take like a parental leave when you have a baby, whether you have any sick days, whether you can take any paid time off. And a lot of Americans don't understand that this is not actually a normal thing globally. In most of the world, the government takes responsibility for things like insurance and retirement plans. There are mandated minimums for paid time off, for parental leave, so everyone is covered regardless of what your employer wants to offer. Like, employers are legally bound to follow those policies. That is not true in the United States. And the reason it's set up like this is like 100 years ago, when everyone was worried about communism, the US wanted to prevent any sort of government overreach. So instead, they gave all that overreach and that power to our employers. Personally, I'm not convinced that giving a bunch of like billionaires that kind of control over the people of this country was any better, but that was what they did. And then on top of all of that, we don't have the level of social safety nets that a lot of other countries have. So, we don't get as much in unemployment and that sort of thing. So that makes it even more devastating when we lose a job. So anyway, if you're watching this from another country and you're like, why are people in the United States always freaking out when they lose their jobs? This is why.
We are having a 5-alarm fire where Social Security is concerned. Not enough people know what is happening right now, and we need to raise the alarm. Some of you may have seen my Instagram post from last night from someone who is inside the Social Security Administration, essentially a whistleblower, and what they are saying is that if we do not stop Elon Musk and Doge very quickly, we're looking at the collapse of the entire Social Security Administration, the system, the whole thing, and it's going to be real hard to bring it back once it's gone. I want to tell you a little bit about what this whistleblower said, and also what I just heard at a press conference today with several Democratic senators who are equally alarmed about the fate of Social Security. And consider all of this, by the way, in light of the fact that Elon Musk just called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. First, what I posted last night are screenshots of text messages that were sent by someone who works as a Fed, and they are really worried about what's happening at SSA. They start by saying, I'm someone with firsthand knowledge and I am witnessing the Social Security Administration being actively dismantled over the past 2 weeks. These recent illegal actions of the new acting commissioner are certain to collapse the system. Please ring the alarm bells. This person then basically says, you've got to call your senators and your representatives, you've got to get your friends and family involved, get the media involved, whatever you have to do, this is really urgent. They then say, Doge and Trump know that public opinion is not on their side. Social Security is very popular, so they are quietly dismantling piece by piece with the hopes that media coverage will be light, the public will be in the dark, and there won't be any pushback while they destroy America's social safety net. This person then says, if you want to call your representatives about this, by the way, let me give you some more examples. Start with probationary attorney-level decision writers who are responsible for assisting administrative law judges who were just terminated at a time when the agency has massive backlogs in cases. These, of course, are just a small number of the 7,000 workers they've just announced they're firing. They talk about how the new acting commissioner gloated about firing 14 employees as an accomplishment. Those exits actually got some news coverage. It says 3, the entire Office of Transformation and its 60-plus employees were dissolved. Their purpose was to promote agency-wide efficiencies, right? Like we're supposed to be looking for efficiencies, but they just fired the efficiency people. They also just dissolved the entire Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity with its 190 employees. Component heads and executives were told to draft plans to slash administrative staff by 50%. 50%. They also sent an email threatening massive reorganization of the Social Security Administration, followed with significant workforce reduction. The email pressured seasoned employees, even frontline employees, with monetary incentives to resign or take early retirement. They also threatened to fire employees for cause should they not retire or resign. Number 7, executive staff responsible for overseeing regional field office operations were terminated. One region had all but 3 out of 72 staff members terminated, and it's very likely that the other 10 regions had similar terminations. Why? They have taken those 10 regions and consolidated them to 4. They're doing all of this because of what they call a bloated workforce and organization structure, even though staffing at the Social Security Administration is the lowest it's been in 50 years. The terminations are happening swiftly and often late in the day to avoid bringing attention to any media or congressional attention to them. They finish, the trauma they are creating for SSA staff is unreal. I am aware of at least 3 terminated employees who have unalived themselves, one of which I personally knew. Horrible. Said that these kinds of cuts will topple the agency. It's like a Jenga tower. You take enough blocks out, the whole thing falls. The goal is to cause the department to collapse without it being obvious. As the former head of the agency said just on Friday, ultimately you're going to see the system collapse and an interruption of benefits. I believe you will see that within the next 30 to 90 days. And at today's press conference, that is exactly what these 3 Senate Democrats plus Amy Klobuchar said was going to happen. Massive service disruptions and eventually checks not coming. Senator Wyden tells us why.
This is hollowing out the program. You're reducing, staff, going to make it harder for people to get information. This is the kind of sort of prelude to privatization.
Musk and Trump want to privatize Social Security. That is the goal, to get rich people richer off of our backs. Even though Social Security is a not-for-profit agency and always has been, even though if Congress raised the income cap, Social Security would be fully solvent for decades. And even though it is a wildly popular program that Americans rely on and have paid into their entire lives, Social Security has more than 73 million retired and disabled beneficiaries. For 4 out of 10 seniors, it is the majority of their income. People in rural areas especially rely on it massively. Call your representatives now, call them tomorrow, call them the next day and the day after that, and tell them, hands off Social Security. Seriously, it is time to get extremely loud, because together we can stop this, but only if we stop fighting each other and start fighting the oligarchs who want to take this thing away from us. So let's do that.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
My wife volunteers helping people sign up for SNAP benefits. And she told me today that to meet the requirements for SNAP benefits, you have to work. You have to work like at least 20 hours a week, some places more. The only people who don't have to meet those requirements are people who are elderly and people who are living with a disability. And they're not getting much. Maybe a couple bucks per meal. Enough to survive. Like, what do they think is going to happen when we start cutting SNAP and Medicaid and Social Security? This just hurts people who are already hurting. And a while back, I used to do case management and homelessness prevention, mostly looking at housing. And what I learned then is that sometimes when you lose one part of your social safety net, you end up losing all of your safety net. Someone can lose their affordable health care that makes them then have to pay more for pain management medication that they have to have. And because of that, they don't have enough money to pay their heat that month. So they skip it. And when their heat gets shut off, they lose their Section 8 status and they can't apply again for another 2 years. So that person losing their health care meant that they ended up being on the street for 2 years. And these weren't lazy people. These were hardworking people. Sometimes it would be someone struggling with their physical health, sometimes their mental health. And a lot of the people I would work with were veterans who were just trying to get back on their feet. These are very vulnerable people, but they're not lazy, and they contribute. They contribute a lot to society. So if you think the United States has a homelessness problem now, Just wait. Once they start making cuts to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and SNAP, it's going to be so much worse. There's going to be a lot of really good people that are in bad situations that are going to be in much worse situations. And you'll know it's happening because you're going to see them. You're going to walk by them every day. And there's going to be so many people that are saying, I knew that the cities had problems with the unhoused, but when did they come to our small town? Why aren't they staying in the cities where I don't have to see them or think about them? Why all of a sudden are they hanging out outside of our grocery stores and outside of our restaurants? And the answer will be that we took away programs that were keeping them off the street so that billionaires could pay less in taxes.
Year after year, there is a huge decline in the amount of social safety nets out here. There's a lot less and less. Why? It is not being funded. We spend our hard-earned money every single year on a lot of different other things, wars and all kinds of stuff. But we have to care for our people over here. There are a lot of people struggling. We have to take care of our home first. Then and only then we worry about everybody else. We have to make sure that we are good at home first in case we fall on hard times.
Sometimes I get really upset with myself and frustrated and angry and regretful and resentful to myself because of how often I fed into the cycle with my own mother. And I think that I worked through this in therapy a lot, where it can be really easy to want to take responsibility for those things that happened in the relationship, but a relationship is a two-way street. And at its core, a lot of people are like, don't talk to your mother, like just let her go, don't have a relationship with her. And I think what is oftentimes not realized is that when you don't have any family, it's almost scarier to stand alone in the world than it is to stand with your abuser. And in my own personal experience, I don't really have peers that can relate to the fact that I literally do not have family. My father died when I was young. My mother is emotionally immature and has heavy narcissistic traits. Her family is the same way she is, and I don't have much family on my father's side. The only person I have is my sibling, and that's why we're so close. Because if I didn't have them, I would have no family lineage, no family support outside of just financial support, no emotional support, no mental support, no support, period, because there are not people around. So that is why people stay with abusers. That is why people try to work on relationships. That is why people find themselves in really uncomfortable situations, because they would rather be with people than have to completely stand by themselves in the world, when the world is a scary, scary place.
I think education and literacy is becoming so poor that people are losing access to benefits that they'd otherwise be able to get if they were good at paperwork, right? Like, I've always thought that in California, the social contract it's expensive, you pay high taxes, but we have a vaster social safety net than other states, right? And so that's the trade-off. But if people feel like they can't access the benefits because they can't do the paperwork, they can't do the online process, then I can understand how it contributes to a sense that, it's just benefits for the educated, and the bureaucracy is gatekeeping away the benefits from me and people who need it, and I see X, Y, and Z groups getting benefits and I'm not getting them. Scary. It was scary. It's something I didn't want to admit to myself before, because I know, and I've seen, it's part of my professional life to help all kinds of people get benefits from the state of California specifically. Uneducated people, educated people, employed people, etc. But I get how that perception develops.
I need y'all to know that I do not give a rat's ass if every single adult enrolled in SNAP abused it to buy fudge rounds. If it feeds one hungry person, just one, then that's worth it to me. The United States government spends $119 billion roughly on SNAP, and that feeds about 45 million Americans or something like that. And 75% of them people work. And you know something else? The company with the most SNAP recipients on their payroll is Walmart, a $400+ billion company. These companies would rather hoard billions and billions of dollars than to pay their employees a living wage. Therefore, they qualify for these government programs. It is not their fault that the employer would rather hoard money than pay them what they're worth.
Now they are trying to make taking care of parents a legal requirement. I remember specifically, I talked about this in 2021 when I was no contact with my own mother. We are now on speaking terms and moving forward, fortunately, but who knows, maybe the other shoe will drop. That being said, I foresaw this coming. With so many millennials, Gen Z, and I would even argue Gen X going no contact with their parents, really started the revolution of parents thinking, oh my gosh, my kids are not going to be the ones that take care of me when I get old, when that is exactly what they were banking on. I think that parents are finding out that you cannot treat your children the way that they have and still expect children to be around. I saw another video talking about how there is a parallel in how people have gone no contact with their parents and then how our people are seeing the rise of class consciousness and political figures not necessarily being someone that we give the benefit of the doubt to. And I do think that all of that is connected. This is why I say it is extremely important to decide who you have children with and know if you have the resources to take care of them, because if you don't, your children will come to resent you. Especially living in the United States of America when there aren't a lot of social safety nets to take care of adults having children to make sure that they have someone to take care of them because they know this system won't, is vile in my opinion. The narrative that you are going to end up alone if you don't have children, most oftentimes adults that are left in nursing homes do not have children that come and visit. So having children is not a guarantee that you will have someone to take care of you at your end.
Once I stopped looking for safety to be rooted in nothing bad ever happening and instead started looking for it in how I would handle the bad thing happening, everything in my life got so much better. So like a lot of people go back or stay in corporate because of the safety. But the truth is, even that's not that safe. Maybe it's more safe than running your own business in some ways. But as all the layoffs these last few months have probably shown us, it's not that stable. Something could happen at any moment. You could get laid off. But one of the best lessons I ever learned was this, that I cannot control the fact that nothing bad will ever happen. But I can trust that I will respond as I need to when it does happen. And instead of basing my comfort on control of knowing nothing bad would ever happen, basing it on myself, I finally felt empowered. And I also felt like I didn't have to be hyper vigilant and control the future. So hopefully that helps for some of you too. Let me know in the comments if you struggle with it, because I'm happy to talk more about control and fear and stability. I completely get this sentiment, but sometimes we're making things harder than we need to.
You know what I was thinking? Now that I'm 32 years old, I have the mindset that I'm still young. It's like I still haven't come to terms that I'm 32 and that I still live with my parents and everything. Nothing is wrong with living with your parents. But I will say this, sometimes you have to create a safety net for yourself while you're still living with your parents. What do I mean by that? I'll tell you. Things happen. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you just got to get out of Dodge. I have I have a cousin, and I have this is a family member of mine, my cousin. She was living with her mom, but her mom, I mean, I'm not going to say she didn't get along with her mother, but the thing was, it's like they weren't clicking. They didn't have that type of mother-daughter connection. It's like, you know, there was a disconnect between the both of them. And she was living at home. One thing I would say about my cousin, she decided that she got to create a safety net. And she was the type, still is, you know, she maps out her life. Maps out her life, you know, make sure she has the perfect career so she can, you know, branch out on her own and have that mental stimulation of peace of mind. And that's what she did. You have to, and it's hard. It's so hard. It's like, you know, this new generation, it's like we the millennials, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have to teach them. It's like when our parents back in the day, folks, try to teach us, it's like, what are you talking about, old person, go away. But now, here we are trying to warn the new generation, hey, listen, it's not easy out there. Things are coming down the pipeline in the United States. They talking about, they're gonna, I read an article where they say that they passed a bill for 18 to 26 to go into the army, to be in the army force. Absolutely, that ain't gonna work. I'm gonna tell you now, that really ain't gonna work. You're talking to young people and millennials. Well, they said 18 to 26, so I bypassed all of that. So I'm 32, so can't go. They don't understand that with this new generation coming up, they're not gonna go. I mean, you could
put the fear of God in them, and but they're gonna go to jail. That's where they're gonna be at. They're not gonna fight no war, and they're definitely not gonna fight a war that y'all started. Nobody wanted. Y'all want us to be in something. Y'all take from us, and then you want to take our lives too to be in a war. Say that we go back to Mother Earth for our country. I don't think so. That's not gonna happen. Maybe most people say, I love my country, I will go. That's them. But the majority, the high percentage of folks, they're not going to go. They'd rather go to jail, and that's fine. Me too. But that's a side note. But what I'm getting at here is, please, to all my young people, it's getting real out here. It's going to get worse. You hear about other countries do not want the U.S. dollar no more. So what does that mean for us? I'll tell you. I mean, the U.S. may have a very difficult chance of trading with most countries. What's going to happen to us? More expensive. Everything is going to be more expensive. So I advise everyone and myself, create a safety net. It is nice to, YOLO. It's nice to, travel all the time. It's nice to hang out with friends, go clubbing, but please, create an account and put money aside to create a safety net. Sometimes you just got to get out of Dodge, and at least you have money to get out of Dodge. You may be living in an expensive area that you really can't afford, so you got to do research and find places where you can go that's more affordable. And you could, buy a home because you've been putting money away. You have to create a safety net. And please, pick up a trade. I wish I knew that too. I wish I knew what I knew now. It would have saved me a whole bunch of time. But I learned in this life, you have to spend money to learn a lesson. And you have to, waste most of your years, your youth, to learn a lesson too. Life is full of lessons in order to make you wiser. And it's crazy to me. I should have picked up a trade first. Pick up a trade, because let me tell you something. With trade, those jobs are always needed. Now, I feel like college should be for if you're going to be a nurse, doctor, engineer, something that you're going to get something, you're going to have a high income, you got a job right after graduation from college. That's when that degree means something. Not you going to college to be an actor. Now, if you want to be an actor, if you know someone who knows 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 someone in the industry, then by all means go for it. Get your degree. You got the hookup. But for most people, don't waste your time in college. And if you know college is not for you, don't go. Just because your parents say go to college for me and you want to make them happy, but it's not for you, do not go. But if you end up do go, find something to study for that you are certain you got a job at the end of the day. Not one of those where you got a job, but they end up letting you go. You want a job that even if they do let you go, you got another job by tomorrow or next week. Do not go to college for degrees that's just going to sit in your room or on your wall to collect dust. And then you have to go back to school to get another degree, or go to trade school to get a certain job. Don't do that to yourself. It is not easy out here. I've seen that now. I go to the grocery store, buy a few items, and it costs $100 or more, depending on what I buy. I always saw my mom always cutting out coupons. I'm like, oh, discount. I'm like, Mom, just buy the stuff. Who has time for that? Guess who's doing it now? Now I'm a coupon head. Oh, a sale. I get more excited that there's a sale going on. Like a sale. I'm like, oh, shoot, this is expensive water. 5 for $10, hey. Well, cases, not just one case. So, yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. Create a safety net. Because remember, 2020 hit us out of nowhere. Who's to say it won't happen again? You have to have a safety net. Because when 2020 hit all of us, it was a sad time. We were isolated. People who didn't want to do that act in their arm But because they had to, they had kids, they had, you know, a debt up they butt. That year taught me even more to create a safety net. And do not, I beg you, do not. If you can't afford it, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Do not put yourself in debt. Be debt free. Don't do it to yourself. Because you never know when shit hits the fan and shit gets real. So create a safety net. Always, please.
Once you realize that you are your safety net, you don't have to have anything outside of yourself but your belief in yourself, you'll be able to move on from anything. You'll be able to move quickly as possible because you already know that you believe in yourself enough to make everything happen for yourself. You believe that whatever is to come will always work in your favor.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.